Hello, everybody. It's me, Sid Goyal, and with me today is Jeff Davis, regional candidate for Ward 4, Oshawa.
Thank you, Sid. Yes, I represent, or I'm hoping to represent, our downtown and extended area of Ward 4 as a regional and city councillor. And I really appreciate the opportunity to collaborate with you on this little venture.
Jeff runs the Facebook page called Improving Oshawa. He's been kind of like a watchdog for transparency at the city council, and I thought, this is a great opportunity to discuss budget, what goes into it. So this is going to be a free flowing conversation. Like maybe we can start with where our property taxes go, really.
That's a very interesting question, Sid. And I think it's a point of confusion that both the city and the region use to try and distract residents from what our taxes are and where they go. They like to tell us, because the city is just the agent that collects the taxes on behalf of the region and the school board. They always like to break down our tax rate into cents, and it's only 40 cents on the dollar of your tax bill that stays within the city of Oshawa. And while that's a very true statement to make, it confuses the average person, even me, who has followed city of Oshawa for about 13 years now, and I've been involved and watching all of the budget processes and deliberations. It's very difficult then to understand exactly how your 40-cent contribution is used. So it's a complex topic that we're going to try and I think try and bring down to where everybody has a little better understanding.
That's awesome. So, just to summarize this, currently, when we pay our property taxes, 46% goes to the region of Durham, 40% goes to the city of Oshawa, and then 14% goes to the education, which is kind of like a provincial. That'd be a correct statement, right? So, Jeff, let's further unpack how this works. So, I see that you have some notes about how the budget breaks down at the city level. So first of all, this is like 40% of the total budget, right?
40% of your tax
property taxes. Sorry, not budget. Property taxes.
This is how the 40 cents out of every dollar the city gets from your tax bill is spent, and the largest expense out of that 40 cents is fire services. They break it down into two categories, but collectively, fire services receive 16.4% for suppression, and another 4% for support services and admin. So 20.5% of your city of Oshawa tax goes to fire services. And let's face it, they are an essential service. There's no doubt about that.
Yep.
Now, the next highest category is finance, human resources, information technology, and legal at 11.92%.
That's like 12% almost, yeah.
Call it 12%. That's right. Now, the legal part is kind of an interesting one, because we don't know what it costs us every year when the legal department settles a claim. 8.5% goes to reserves and capital contributions. And we do two budgets. We do a capital budget and an operating budget.
Yeah.
So out of our operating budget, that's how we fund our reserves. And so it's a little bit of a shell game there.
Sorry, so from our operating budget, some of it goes to our reserves. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes. Okay. That's where the funding for our reserves originates from.
Okay.
It comes from different departments and programs in the operating budget.
Question on that again. So this reserve, is it at regional level or city level?
This is strictly talking city level.
So city has its own discretionary reserves.
They have multiple reserves.
Okay.
They have DC reserves. They have discretionary reserves. They have non-discretionary reserves. Some of them are earmarked for particular projects down the road. Some of them we don't really know what the reserve is held for, what the intent was, but they often change over time.
I see.
So if one reserve account peaks, they might take those monies and transfer them to a different reserve.
Interesting.
In order to spend it on a different capital project.
I see. And these can be spent on anything from road maintenance to
any kind of a capital project generally. It helps to build our fire halls.
Okay.
It helps to buy our fire engines. It helps to maintain our parks and our recreation buildings. We have reserves to help finance city equipment, trucks, and whatnot. We have reserves for a multitude of different things. We even have a tax rate stabilization reserve, which seldom gets used to reduce our taxes.
Let's talk about that a little bit, maybe. So, so in my door knocks, I've seen like I've met people who have told me about their neighbors being forced to sell,
Mhm.
almost forced to sell their homes because they can no longer afford property taxes. My personal thinking is that we need to do whatever we can to kind of halt the increase in the property taxes. I mean, that is one of the priorities that a lot of residents do bring up. What's your
Yes.
take, Jeff?
Um, it's a really difficult situation because a relatively large amount of the city revenue, aside from taxation, is the fees, including interest and penalties.
Mm-hmm.
So when a person is stretched to the limit and they need to choose between mortgage, food, whatever, and paying their taxes, they're going to try and find a way to not pay their taxes. They need all of those other things to live on a day by day basis.
Mm-hmm.
When it gets to the point that the city is in a legal position to foreclose and do a tax sale, that resident could lose all of the equity that's in their home. And so they will often very reluctantly agree to sell their home and move someplace else, hoping to maintain at least a majority of their investment in their home.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as a city, that's a terrible position to put any of our residents in.
Yeah.
And we definitely have to look at those programs. We have to understand the demographics of our city. And the demographics suggest that the majority of Oshawa households earn less than $100,000 a year. That's households. That's not individuals.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the Sunshine List.
Mm-hmm.
That's an individual salary at
Yeah.
100,000.
Yeah.
We're talking households, some of which have more than two incomes and are still struggling to earn $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
So as our taxes continue to increase, they take an even bigger bite out of those lower income families. And those are the ones that we really have to worry about because we are stretching the low income and the middle class to their limits. And as a city, we need to understand that, and we need to represent all of our citizens, not just the wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
So
For
that's
sure.
that's something that is in there. So we covered fire, finance, human resources, reserves. The fourth largest portion of your tax dollar at the city level is parks, forestry, playgrounds, and trails at 7.25%.
And this includes maintenance or creating new parks as well. Like, is it everything?
This is primarily the operating budget, so it's the
Okay.
maintenance and operation of them.
Oh, okay.
A new one
Will be capital.
would have a capital expenditure to build the facility, whether it be a trail or a building, and then automatically the operating budget kicks in to staff it.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, and we don't always look at the combined effect of that capital project. So that's an important thing to bring up, and I appreciate that. Recreational facility maintenance is the final in the top five of our expenditures
Mhm.
at 5.5%.
Okay.
So parks, forestry, playgrounds, and trails is 7.25. Rec facilities maintenance is 5.5. So it's combined almost 13% of your tax
Mhm.
dollar. Those five areas represent half of every dollar that the city keeps.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So there's 20 cents of the 40 cents that they like to speak about.
All right.
Now there's a couple that didn't make the top five,
Mm-hmm.
but really deserve to be mentioned.
Can I guess?
Sure, you can guess.
Should roads be one of them? I don't know.
Roads would be one of them. And the reason it didn't make the top five is because they divide it. They divide out the winter control,
Mm-hmm.
the snow removal and salt
Mm-hmm.
from road maintenance.
Okay.
If you combine the two of them,
Mhm.
they represent about 10% of your total tax bill.
10% of the 40 cents.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So
So we are strictly talking about city roads here, right?
city roads,
Not regional.
just the city portion of
Okay.
those roads,
Okay.
roads and sidewalks.
Okay.
But it's kind of like, they broke fire services into two parts.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't show 20%, it shows smaller.
Mm.
And the parks, forestry, playgrounds, away from the facility maintenance is broken out, so the numbers don't seem as large.
Mm-hmm.
But a full 10% or 4 cents out of every 40 cents goes to roads. And we often hear that we aren't doing enough for our roads. I'm not going to argue that point. I certainly think that we need to do more on our roads, but we have
Yeah.
to look at the total dollars available to do it.
And I just want to point out as well to the viewers, if you saw my previous video regarding the service requests, road and potholes in the
Mhm.
city, the requests or the I guess the complaints have increased a lot for the potholes. Regional were even more than the city, if you
Yes.
recall. But the city is still like from between 2025 and 2026 for the first 6 months in both the years, the number of complaints for potholes have increased, which kind of shows that our roads are deteriorating and something needs to happen.
Yes. Um, you know, I know some of the staff at the city of Oshawa, the frontline workers. I know a few of the guys that work roads, work parks, and I know their jobs. And I know that there's a standard response. And the standard response is that we meet the provincial requirements. And provincial requirements are a minimum standard.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means is we're satisfied, or the city is satisfied, that we meet the minimum standard and we're not doing anything over and above the minimum. And I think some days we need to get out of that mindset. We need to remember that even though other municipalities also have problems, whether it be finances, roads, homelessness, addiction, we need to get out of the mindset of generalizing it and minimalizing it to the with words like, "Oh, it's everywhere," or "Everybody has that problem." This is
That's a great point.
Oshawa, and we should be proud of Oshawa,
Mm-hmm.
and we should be looking to exceed any place that we can. And if that means that we are 20% over the minimum standard on road repair, that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And we should always be striving to do better rather than to just meet a minimum standard.
Do you think that we now have the opportunity to do better on our roads, road maintenance in general? Do we have the budget for it? Can we increase the budget for it?
Do we have the budget for it? No, we don't. Simply because even though the city has a very regimented process to budget, we don't follow it. Once the budget is passed, uh, this council seems to be very willing to approve projects that are not in the budget. Prime example is $50 million for renovation of the Tribute Community Center.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying we don't need a renovation there, but it's not in the budget.
I see.
It
Okay.
was approved in 2026 or 2025 in a closed session meeting, but it never made it to the 2026 budget. And I have to question why it's not in the budget.
Hmm.
Just recently, at the end of June, we had a special council meeting where they approved, it appears that they have approved, the partial purchase of the old Oshawa Clinic downtown to help Queen's University come to Oshawa and build a health sciences facility. Well, that was a reconsideration of a closed meeting vote back in 23 or 25. Actually, I have
I'll
my
have
notes.
to, we can.
That was a closed meeting decision of council that had to be reconsidered, but it never showed up anywhere in the budget after they made the original
Mm-hmm.
vote to approve it. We don't know how much. We don't know where the money's coming from. They've now changed, or it appears that they've changed the financial end of the decision, so it's
Mhm.
probably gone up. We don't know where that money's coming from.
So again, we're not. I mean, you're not necessarily opposing anything here, but the transparency is something that you're questioning.
Oh, absolutely. I've questioned accountability and transparency at the city of Oshawa since late fall of 2013, and it hasn't gotten any better. And I firmly believe that as a taxpayer and as a resident, we should know about those decisions and where that money comes from
Yep.
and goes to.
Mhm.
Without knowing that, how do we judge that the current council has made a good decision?
That's true.
I won't mention any names, but there is a current councillor who has told me in the past when we've had discussions, we make the best decision based on the information provided. And my response to that has always been, then why don't you ask more questions and get more information?
That's fair.
But that's where the conversation dies. They don't want to respond.
Hmm.
So, like I said, that's part of the accountability and transparency that has to come back to the city of Oshawa, not only in the budgeting, but primarily in the budgeting, but on the decision making, especially those items that are decided outside of a budget. We need more transparency, more accountability, and we need the numbers presented to us in a format that the average person can understand. Don't purposely confuse us by giving us a percentage in this paragraph and a dollar figure or number of cents in this paragraph. Give it to us in a format that we can all understand. There's no confusion, and we can all look at it and say, okay, we accept it, or we don't accept it, but make it easy for us.
Okay, so well, that was definitely very educational for me, if I'm being honest. Like, I think I learned a lot already. But I guess as the final segment, are there any misconceptions that you can think of, Jeff, that you'd like our audience to be educated on?
I warned you when we first talked about this that budgeting was a deep and difficult topic.
Yep.
But there are misconceptions. We've talked about all the city's top expenses. Heavy hitters like policing, health, housing, regional roads, water and sewer, all come from your regional portion of the tax bill. So that's the other 43% that the city collects on their behalf. One of the biggest misconceptions is that your local city tax bill can somehow affect housing, addiction, and mental health supports.
Mm-hmm.
And that's technically not anywhere within the realm of the city of Oshawa budgeting.
But it still comes from our taxes, property taxes, because it is going to the region, like 46%, right?
Exactly. So, and then that brings us around to the composition of your council. We have 11 elected members of council, the mayor plus 10 councillors.
Mm-hmm.
5 of those councillors plus the mayor sit on the regional council.
Mm-hmm.
And so they are there to represent the citizens and the other 5 elected city councillors at the region. And they should be working in conjunction with those 5 city councillors, and they should be going to the region as a combined force and a combined voice
For the city.
for the city of Oshawa, and going to the region and saying housing, addiction, mental illness are a major problem in Oshawa.
Mm-hmm.
They are the region's responsibility, and we're here telling you that we need you to step up.
So, Jeff, I think this was super educational. Any parting thoughts?
You know, we hear a lot of people, social media especially, asking about reduced tax rates.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's a great idea, and I do think that it is possible with the right work. However, as non-incumbents, you and I, we don't sit on council, we don't see the closed reports,
Mm-hmm.
we don't see all of the documentation that the council receives, and neither does the public.
Mm-hmm.
So we're no better educated on that than the people asking us those questions as to how we can actually reduce the budget.
That's very true.
And if elected, we become council members in early December. They want a budget passed before February. That doesn't give us a lot of time to extract that information and create a budget that has enough tax savings in it that the citizens really want. I think it's possible in year 2, when we've had a year to pull all of that information from staff, from the reports, find the efficiencies. And I fully believe that efficiencies are the most important step in reducing our budget. It's not about canceling any services. It's not about getting rid of staff. It's about being efficient. It's about spending our money wisely, more wisely than in the past, working within the budgets, within the constraints, within the inflation, and certainly listening to what our residents have to say about what's important to them.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, some of our residents have come right out and said, get rid of this program or do away with this. Some of them have done that. But we have to look at the overall good of our city and of all of our residents. And it's a really tough question. And I think the only honest answer is talk to me in year 2. Talk to me for the 2028 budget, because that's where we can make a difference. We're going to do everything we can as a new council to keep it as low as we can in 2027, but we're still limited in the information that we have. And anybody that tells you any different, I'd have to question their integrity on it personally.
No, absolutely. 100%.
So that's the way I look at it, Sid.
No,
And
this is a very honest take, Jeff. And I think it's very well said when you say, you know, we have to look at the entire city. Yes, we are, you know, if we get elected, you know, if we are honored, you know, with your vote, if we do get elected, then yes, we will be representing the board, but we do have to look at the city as a whole, as one team as well.
Yep. Council is all about building partnerships, building relationships, similar to what we're doing right here today. And if you and I are both successful in being elected in October, we're going to have a lot more face-to-face conversations about projects in your ward,
Mhm.
in my ward, in the other 3 wards, because
Absolutely.
we'll be looking at the overall best interests of our city.
Absolutely.
It's not about division.
Mhm.
Divide and conquer does not work,
Mhm.
especially in municipal politics, because it's the closest to the people. And so I think it's very important that we start building those kinds of relationships. Doesn't mean we're always going to agree on
Absolutely.
everything, but we look at it with an open mind, and we share our knowledge, and we work together to make sure that we all have the best available information
Absolutely.
before we make a decision.
100%. Well, thank you so much, Jeff. This was super insightful. For the record, I'm Sid Goyal. Your
I'm
ward.
Jeff Davis, and thank you, Sid, for inviting me.
All right. Thank you.